Welcome back. As promised, I'm joined now by the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. It's New Jersey Democratic Senator Bob Menendez. Senator Menendez, thank you for making a few minutes for us.
It's good to be with you, Chuck. We've had a long hearing, but it's good to be with you.
I want to start. Yeah, I bet. I know it was. It was a longer hearing than we anticipated. Trust us as well. I want to read your quote back to you from August 17th when you said, "I am disappointed that the Biden administration clearly did not accurately assess the implications of a rapid U.S. withdrawal. We are now witnessing the horrifying results of many years of policy and intelligence failures." After today's hearings, does your views of how this withdrawal was handled by this Biden team, has that changed?
Well, look, I said it was fatally flawed. Fatally flawed, first of all, because they were living with the Trump surrender agreement to the Taliban that created all types of circumstances that they inherited. Fatally flawed because the intelligence here was clearly wrong if they were being told that the Afghan government would survive for months, not days. And then fatally flawed because you prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And I just think that while they accelerated at a certain point, I don't think that they prepared for the worst case scenario. But what really is also at stake here, Chuck, is what I intend to pursue. For 20 years, or good parts thereof, the Congress has either been lied to, misled, or give overly rosy projections. We've got to learn from that so we don't have the next Afghanistan.
I'm curious, though, when I hear that, I mean, we went through this 40 years ago with Vietnam, and it was the rosy scenarios and all this stuff, and we had always said we weren't going to let that happen. You've been in this town a long time. You've been on these international issues a long time. How did we let this Vietnam syndrome come back so easily?
Well, I wasn't here for Vietnam, and I voted against the Iraq War, but I am determined to use this period of time to drive home what were the mistakes and what are the lessons. So that's the best that I can do now that I have the chairmanship of the committee, and that's exactly what I intend to do.
The Secretary of Defense opted not to appear before your committee. Is that a scheduling issue, or do you think you're going to need a subpoena to get him in front of your committee?
Well, I see that Secretary Austin put out a statement after our hearing that he welcomed the invitation, that he had a scheduling conflict, first time I heard that, and that he is looking forward to appearing before the House and Senate Armed Services Committee, and I certainly would like him to do that. But by the same token, foreign policy in part depends upon the defense actions that are taken by the nation. And so the members of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, as we think about what happened here and as we think about the future in terms of foreign policy, have to have that dimension before the committee. So I hope that the Secretary will accept our invitation at a future date to come before the committee so we can get those perspectives.
It sounds like you wish you had heard about the scheduling conflict sooner than in the release that he sent. If he doesn't come, would you rule out a subpoena?
Chuck, you know, I have always believed in the previous administration and the administration before that and in now that there is a separate co-equal branch of government. Article 1 of the Constitution by the founders was not the presidency, was not the courts, it was the Congress of the United States. We have an oversight function. I take that seriously, and I will do what is necessary to exercise that oversight function. I hope that in this case and in others, there will be cooperation, because I expect to call others as well from the past.
I'm curious, would you want to hear from Jake Sullivan in front of the committee? It's not national security advisors. There's a tradition of them not doing that, and executive privilege, and a president should have, you know, I think a lot of people agree, should have their personal, you know, be able to get that advice off the record, if you will. But certainly, do you think it would help your understanding of what happened if he did testify?
Well, look, I would welcome Jake Sullivan's testimony, but I agree that a president has to have a national security advisor that can give them unfettered advice, and then they make their own decisions. So I'm not going to insist on his appearance, although I would welcome it if he did. But I will insist on the appearance of many who played a role during the course of the last 20 years, former secretaries of defense, secretaries of state, and others who gave, including generals, who gave advice during this period of time which were either an outright lie, were overly rosy, overly optimistic, and for which we need a clear understanding of, so that Congress, when it faces the next set of challenges of our engagement abroad, has a very clear determination.
I was just going to say, it sounds like you'd like to get some heads of intelligence agencies, both current and past. That's not traditionally been something foreign relations has handled. Would you like to see that in front of your committee? How about General Milley?
You know, we're going to work with our colleagues, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, as well as Armed Services, to make sure that the whole panoply of those who should be before the respective committees are being called, and that information's being, achieved, and, the decisions as they were made at the time are being understood and or explained and or called upon. So we'll work with the other committees of jurisdiction, but there are elements of this that clearly are necessary to determine foreign policy. You can't do that in an abstract. This is not just a question of failure of diplomacy. We ended up with that when President Trump basically gave everything to the Taliban, got nothing up front. Right. We had 5,000 Taliban prisoners released, reduced the troops, and said he was going to get out by a date specific. I mean, I've always heard Republicans, say never give a date specific. Well, Trump did that, and I didn't hear a whimper at the time.
Right. Senator Bob Menendez, the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, definitely somebody who believes in the separation of our three branches of government. I look forward to see how much success you have in getting some of these people before your committee. Thanks for coming on and expressing your views.
Bye-bye.